The universe has a sense of humor, she murmured, watching her team work. They turned sound into a weapon, not knowing they were attacking the species that turned sound into music. The Drachnid raiding fleet emerged from hyperspace like silent predators, their crystalline ships reflecting starlight as they approached their target, a heavily laden cargo convoy. At the fleet's center, War Commander Crix allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. These human supply lines would make easy prey. Energy patterns nominal. His sensor officer reported. Sonic matrix charged. Target locks acquired. But as the quantum acoustic weapons powered up, something unprecedented happened. The lead human vessel, rather than attempting to flee, turned to face them directly. Crix's secondary breathing bladders constricted with surprise. Launch Sonic Pattern Alpha, he ordered, mandibles clicking with anticipation. The invisible wave of destructive harmonics surged forth, only to be met with a counterwave that made Crix's sensory organs vibrate uncomfortably. Dr. Olivia Rhodes stood on the bridge of the UES Beethoven, watching her acoustic defense grid perform exactly as designed. Match their frequency and invert it, she commanded. Then give them a taste of their own medicine. The human fleet speakers, specially designed to propagate sound through subspace, began broadcasting a carefully calculated series of frequencies. The effect on the Drachnid ships was immediate and devastating. Their crystalline hulls, designed to channel and focus sonic energy, began to resonate destructively. Impossible, Crix screeched as his flagship's structural integrity alerts blared. They cannot comprehend the sonic patterns, their primitive auditory systems. Sir, his science officer interrupted, the humans are not just blocking our attacks. They're singing back. Indeed, the human counterattack wasn't just random noise. It was a coordinated harmony, each ship contributing to a complex pattern that built upon itself. The Drachnid fleet's own sonic weaponry began to feedback, creating a destructive resonance that threatened to tear their ships apart. Lieutenant Fuller, manning the Beethoven's tactical station, couldn't help but grin. You know what this reminds me of, Doc? That old Earth legend about Joshua and the walls of Jericho. Olivia nodded, watching the Drachnid ships begin to break formation. Sound can create, and sound can destroy. We just happen to understand both principles better than most. The Drachnid fleet retreated in disarray, their supposedly invincible weapon turned against them. But Olivia knew this was just the beginning. They'll be back, she warned Admiral Santos. And next time, they'll be ready for this defense. Then we'd better be ready with something new, the Admiral replied. How long until the next phase of your project is ready? Olivia pulled up the schematics for what her team had dubbed Project Symphony. We're not just going to defend against their sonic weapons anymore. We're going to show them what humans can really do with sound. The Galactic Council chamber hummed with nervous energy as representatives from 17 species gathered for the emergency session. Dr. Olivia Rhodes stood at the central podium, surrounded by holographic displays of her research. The Drachnid sonic weapons are not unique in their basic principles, she explained to the assembled delegates. What is unique is humanity's ability to not just defend against them, but to adapt and improve upon the technology. Ambassador Trellix of the Harmonious Accord, a species that communicated entirely through bioluminescence, raised an appendage. How can this help those of us who cannot process these sonic frequencies? That's exactly why we're here, Olivia replied, nodding to Dr. Patel, who activated a new hologram. Project Symphony isn't just about weapons or defense. It's about translation. The hologram showed a complex network of interconnected devices. We've developed what we call the resonance protocol. It can take sonic energy and convert it into forms that each species can naturally process. Light patterns for the Harmonious Accord, chemical signatures for the Methane Collective, even crystalline vibrations for the Silicon Confluence. The chamber erupted in excited discussion as the implications became clear. Not only could humanity's sonic technology protect against the Drachnid weapons, but it could also bridge communication gaps between species that had existed for millennia. Admiral Santos stepped forward to address the security concerns. We're offering to outfit council ships with hybrid defense systems. Your vessels will be protected not just against sonic weapons, but against any attack that can be detected and countered through waveform analysis. A Drachnid observer in the chamber rose suddenly, causing several delegates to flinch. But instead of attacking, the crystalline being moved to examine the technical specifications more closely. You've mastered harmonics we thought impossible to control, the Drachnid scientist admitted, their translator struggling to convey their mix of emotions. Our weapons were based on the assumption that no species could process such complex frequency patterns. Olivia approached the Drachnid carefully. That's because you were looking at it wrong. Humans don't just process sound. We create with it. Music isn't just entertainment for us. It's a fundamental way we understand the universe. The next few hours were spent in detailed technical discussions as more species began to see the potential of the resonance protocol. The Methane Collective was particularly interested in using it to enhance their deep space communication networks. The Silicon Confluence saw applications in their crystalline computing systems. But it was the Harmonious Accords ambassador who grasped the deeper significance. You haven't just given us a defense system. They signaled through their shifting colors. You've given us a new way to understand each other. As the council session concluded, Dr. Rhodes found herself surrounded by eager scientists from a dozen worlds, all wanting to contribute their own species' understanding of wave propagation to the project. The Drachnid observer lingered at the edge of the group. We developed our sonic weapons believing they made us invincible, they admitted. But you humans, you took our weapon and turned it into a bridge. 3 months after the Galactic Council session, the Helios Research Station had transformed into an unprecedented hub of interspecies collaboration. Dr. Olivia Rhodes stood in the newly constructed harmonic chamber, watching representatives from 24 species work together to fine-tune the resonance protocol. The latest test results are remarkable, Dr. Puddle reported, gesturing to a holographic display showing wave patterns. The Methane Collective's phase-shifting technology, combined with the Silicon Confluence's crystal matrices, has improved transmission efficiency by 300%. But their work was interrupted by an urgent alert. Lieutenant Fuller's voice crackled over the intercom. Dr. Rhodes, we're detecting multiple Drachnid signatures entering the system. It's their entire battle fleet. Instead of panic, Olivia felt a strange calm. Right on schedule, she murmured. Signal the defense fleet to hold position. Let's show them what we've been working on. The Drachnid fleet emerged from hyperspace in attack formation, but this time they faced something unprecedented. Ships from every council species hung in perfect formation around the station, each equipped with the latest version of the resonance protocol. War Commander Crix, who had led the initial raids months ago, found himself facing not just human vessels, but a unified force unlike anything in galactic history. They cannot all have mastered sonic warfare, he declared, though uncertainty crept into his voice. This is Dr. Olivia Rhodes of the Helios Research Station. Her transmission reached every ship in both fleets. Before you launch your attack, I invite your scientists to analyze what we're about to demonstrate. At her signal, every ship in the defense fleet began broadcasting. But instead of destructive frequencies, they created something entirely new. A harmony of different species' natural frequencies, merged through the resonance protocol into a single, unified symphony. The Drachnid ship's sensors registered the transmission in their native crystalline resonance. The Harmonious Accord vessels pulsed with synchronized light patterns. The Methane Collective's ships rippled with perfectly translated chemical signatures. Each species received the same message in their own natural language of perception. Impossible, Crix whispered, watching his tactical display show perfect translation across all known sensory spectrums. Their weapon, their advantage, had been transformed into something far more powerful, a means of true universal communication. The Drachnid Science Council, monitoring the demonstration, broke their species' traditional silence. Stand down the fleet, they commanded Crix. We were wrong about humanity's primitiveness. They haven't just mastered sound, they've mastered unity. In the following days, as the Drachnid fleet integrated into the research project, Olivia found herself working alongside the very scientists who had developed the sonic weapons. Their expertise, combined with human creativity and the diverse perspectives of other species, pushed the resonance protocol far beyond its original design. "You know what the real breakthrough was?" she asked Admiral Santos, watching ships from former enemy species conducting joint maneuvers. "It wasn't just that we could hear their weapons. It's that we understood something fundamental about the universe that they had missed." "And what's that, Doctor?" Olivia smiled, gesturing to the harmonious fleet movements visible through the station's window. "That the most powerful force in existence isn't destruction. It's collaboration. Every species perceives the universe differently, but together we can create something greater than the sum of our parts." The resonance protocol became more than a defense system or a communication tool. It became the foundation for a new era of galactic cooperation, where each species' unique perceptions contributed to a greater understanding of the universe. And at its heart was humanity's greatest gift, not the ability to master sound, but the ability to turn a weapon into an instrument of peace. Admiral Santos watched a group of human musicians performing for an enthralled audience of multiple species, each experiencing the music through their own sensory translation. "They wanted to make us fear their weapons," she mused. "Instead, we taught them to dance to our tune." "Not our tune," Olivia corrected, watching the joint fleet maneuvers. "Our symphony." Dr. Olivia Rhodes pressed her hand against the observation window of the stellar research station Helios, watching another merchant vessel disintegrate in the distance. The destruction was completely silent in the vacuum of space, but the patterns of the ship's destruction troubled her deeply. As the foremost human expert in quantum acoustics, something about the attack patterns seemed familiar. "Doctor, we've got another distress signal," Lieutenant James Fuller announced, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. "Third one this week. Same signature as the others." Olivia nodded, her silver-streaked black hair reflecting the emergency lights. The attacks had begun 3 months ago, ships simply falling apart with no visible weapons fire. The Drachnid raiders responsible for the attacks had somehow developed a way to destroy vessels without conventional weapons, and the Galactic Council was in panic. "Send me the sensor data from the latest attack," she requested, moving to her workstation. As the numbers scrolled across her screen, her eyes widened. "James, are you seeing these frequency patterns?" The lieutenant moved to peer over her shoulder. "Just looks like background radiation to me, Doc." "That's just it. It's not radiation at all. These are acoustic waves, but propagated through subspace." She pulled up a comparison chart. "The Drachnids aren't using some exotic new weapon. They're using sound." James frowned. "Sound doesn't travel in space, Doc. That's basic physics." "Conventional sound doesn't," Olivia agreed, her fingers flying across the haptic interface. "But they found a way to transmit acoustic energy through subspace fields. The reason ships are falling apart is that they're being subjected to resonant frequencies that shake them to pieces, like an opera singer shattering a wine glass. Exactly like that, but on a quantum level." Olivia's eyes lit up with understanding. "The reason we couldn't detect it before is that most species in the Council can only process a very narrow band of frequencies. Their brains filter out anything outside that range automatically. But humans, we can hear a much wider range," James finished, beginning to understand. "That's why you could spot the pattern." Olivia was already sending messages to her team. "Not just that. Human hearing is adaptable. We can learn to process and interpret new sound patterns. It's why we can learn to understand accented speech, or why musicians can develop perfect pitch through practice." The implications were staggering. While other species had evolved to process specific frequency ranges perfectly suited to their home environments, humans had developed flexible hearing that could adapt to new conditions. What the Drachnids had thought was the perfect undetectable weapon was only undetectable to species with rigid auditory processing. Within hours, Olivia's lab was filled with researchers analyzing attack data through audio processing algorithms. Dr. Patel, her acoustics expert, had rigged up a way to convert the subspace frequencies into audible sound. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying way," he remarked, adjusting his equipment. "Each attack has its own signature, like a deadly symphony." "The drachnids probably think they're undetectable," Olivia mused, studying the waveforms. "Their own hearing is even more limited than most council species. They would have no way of knowing that humans could not only detect their weapon, but potentially defend against it." The station's commander, Admiral Teresa Santos, arrived as they were compiling their findings. Her weathered face was grave as she reviewed the data. "Can we stop these attacks, Doctor?" "Better than that," Olivia replied, pulling up a new simulation. "We can turn their weapon against them. Human audio processing technology, combined with our natural adaptability to different frequency ranges, means we can not only detect their attacks but predict and counter them." "How long to develop a defense system?" Olivia shared a look with her team. "We already have the basic principles worked out. We need to test it, but I think we can have a prototype ready within days. The real question is, do we reveal this capability now, or wait until we can spring it on them when they least expect it?" Admiral Santos studied the simulation thoughtfully. "How many lives would be saved if we deployed this immediately?" "Point taken." Olivia nodded. "We'll begin installation on merchant vessels first. The drachnids won't know what hit them when their sonic attacks start bouncing back." As her team scrambled to begin production, Olivia couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The drachnids had spent years developing what they thought was the perfect undetectable weapon, never realizing that humans, with their primitive and imperfect hearing, would be the ones to not only detect it, but master it.